Hi, everybody. Hey there. Welcome to CoreLight's Spiritual Weather Report. It's January 30th, 2022, and this is Brad, and I'm here in beautiful Florida in the U.S. I just love being here in Florida. It's so beautiful. It really feeds my body and soul. This is a very special place for me, and unfortunately, it's super cold right now. It's in the 30s in the low, which is like just incredibly cold for Florida. So nobody here is quite used to that. But anyway, this is not that kind of weather report. This is a spiritual weather report. I want to welcome all of you who are new to CoreLight, and also welcome to everybody who's been with CoreLight a very long time as well. I know we have both groups listening, and I'm just delighted. I'm so happy to be able to share this time with you all. I really look forward to these calls every month and to being in this field of love with you. It's been since early December since we had our last call, and it feels like lifetimes. It feels, I don't know, it feels like so much has transpired since early December. I hope you had a restful and joyful holiday time. I hope that 2022 is treating you well so far. And I know it's been a really special time for many, many people. I've also experienced that myself. Lots of inner growth, many joyful experiences, and also lots of challenges too, a lot of challenging experiences, and really everything in between. It's been quite a roller coaster. In fact, we're going through this massive collective shift at the moment, and we're all playing our roles in that shift. And so we're going to talk a lot more about that today, and what's really going on, and how to use this time to accelerate our growth in consciousness. I can tell you tomorrow there's an especially powerful new moon tomorrow, and it's known as a black moon here in the United States because it's the second new moon in January. So at least that's in the U.S. as far as I know. I'm not sure if that's in other parts of the world too, but it certainly is a powerful day. It's a time of extreme highs and lows, and it's a time when we each get to choose what we want to experience around that. So it's a time that we can best focus on the gifts and the opportunities of any situation, even if it's challenging, instead of focusing on the negative aspects. Instead of feeling victimized or blaming the outside or buying into the fear or the depression or whatever it is in those lows that we can experience. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I don't want to talk too much about that right now. We'll talk more about it during the call today. So for everybody who might be new to the Spiritual Weather Report calls, here's how they work. I start by offering a guided meditation, and then I'll speak about the prevailing energies that are affecting us, and also about the spiritual principles that are most helpful to us right now. And then we'll open up to questions and answers, and we'll close the session with a brief prayer or guided meditation or an exercise or whatever we have time for at the end. The calls tend to last 2 hours. We try to keep it to that. If you need to leave before the call ends, you can always listen to the recording later. We do send out the link to our email list, and it's also posted on YouTube. So you can look for that, and you can also share it with your friends. We're happy to share. You can forward the email or the link to YouTube. So before we get started, let me just share some of the topics. When I was tuning in on what to talk about today, there were like half a dozen or so topics that came forward. So let me tell you what those are going to be. Today we're going to talk about seeing beyond polarity and choosing love and joy above all else. And I know that's something we often talk about, but it was very clear to me that it's really important that we revisit that in a slightly different way today. Another topic is death and rebirth. Another topic is the power of going yin. Yin being the feminine side, the receptive side. Fourth is it's a time of highs and lows, as I mentioned. We'll talk more about the highs and lows and how to navigate that. Fifth is how do we move beyond the old paradigm of victims, saviors, and martyrs into the heart. Sixth, the collective awakening, I'm reading my notes here, the collective awakening into the new paradigm of the heart. So there's a lot to share. I'm very excited about today. There's so much going on, and when I was putting my thoughts down in these ideas, so much came forward. So I want to make sure we have enough time to cover everything as well as answer some of the questions that came in. We had some really great questions. Before we get started with the guided meditation, I just want to also mention a couple of quick housekeeping things. And I want to thank some of you for the feedback last month about the sound quality. I know that last month it was not such great sound quality, so our tech team is working on improving that, and I hope it's better this month. Please give me feedback. Please always feel free to give me that kind of feedback. I need to know how it sounds for you, and if you're experiencing any challenges like that, or if if you're having a good experience with that, I also like to hear that. Also, I mentioned this last month, but it's worth repeating, and that is that we have some super exciting plans for this year. We are in the process of installing a new learning management system online for our courses. A new online platform. It's called Kajabi. It's being installed right now, and it's beautiful. It's impeccable. It's the same system that my friend Anna Breitenbach and I used to teach For the Love of Animals at the end of last year. And if you took that course, it was just a beautiful format. So I was so excited about it that I thought, okay, well, now it's time. We're going to do that at CoreLight. So we're planning new courses in this new format. And I want to thank everybody who participated in the email survey that we sent out over the last few weeks. We asked you how CoreLight can support you best, and your information really helped me a lot. So I appreciate your taking the time to share with me how you want to be supported, because that's my goal, that's my aim. And so first, the exciting news, I guess, for some of you anyway, is the first course that we're going to offer this year is going to be Spiritual Warrior Training. And I'm hoping that happens in May or June. So please bear with us. I'm going to talk a little bit about it in the class today, just because somebody asked a question about that topic, and so I just want to thank you for, like I said, for your patience, for bearing with us, because we've been through massive changes at CoreLight over the last few years, and many people have been asking about these courses. These are our foundational courses that Leslie used to teach long ago. And they're just so incredibly powerful, and I'm just delighted that I'm going to be able to teach them. Since Leslie's no longer teaching, we'll be using her audios, but I will guide the course, and I'll be available for live Zoom calls to answer questions. And so I'm just super excited about this opportunity to do this in a new way. So get ready for that. We're also planning a lot more. I won't go into the details now because I want to get started, but we're looking into the possibility of a membership community to open that up this year, which would be really special. It would have some exclusive content and maybe some more video offerings and things like that. So I'm kind of getting excited about what lays in store for us this year. So thank you again for your feedback on the survey to help me guide this year. So, okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and start with our guided meditation for today. And I invite you to just sit and get quiet and close your eyes and take a few long, slow, deep breaths, just relaxing. Deeply, deeply letting go with each exhale. As you relax and let go, just feel and breathe in the beautiful transmission that comes through on these calls. Breathing in the light. Breathing out any tension in the body. And if you've been on these calls for any time, you know that at some level of her being, Leslie is overlighting these calls. Even though she's not with us physically right now, there's a transmission of healing energy that comes in through another level. So we invite you to just receive that. It's a gift, it's a blessing, it's healing energy. You can visualize it, see it, feel it as golden white light that you're breathing in. Just let it deeply relax your muscles. As you breathe and as you let go, just become very meditative and just let go of thoughts, nothing to worry about, nothing to think about, just being present right here and right now. Breathing in the present moment. Breathing out any worries about the past or the future. As you relax and let go, let's do a muscular relaxation as we always do from head to toes. And I invite you to visualize and feel a warm liquid pouring over the top of your head like honey, just melting and relaxing all of the muscles, starting with the scalp muscles on top of the head, forehead, eyes, relaxing all those many tiny little muscles all around the eyes, relaxing the eyelids, relaxing the eyeballs, letting your eyeballs relax so much that they just fall back into their sockets. Relaxing your temples and your cheeks and your nose, your ears, your mouth and your jaw, your whole head. Relaxing the back of the tongue. Just breathing in the relaxation and breathing out any stress that you might be feeling in the body. Relaxing your neck and your shoulders. Your arms all the way down to your fingers. Letting this energy sweep over your whole body, flowing down your torso, relaxing your chest and your upper back, your lower back, abdomen, pelvic region. Just feeling all the tension being swept away as you release. Feeling this warm honey flowing over your legs, relaxing your upper legs, the knees, the lower legs, ankles, feet, and toes. Just letting go completely. And now I'm going to be quiet for a few moments while you scan your body one more time from the head to toes and fingertips, and just breathe light and relaxation into any place where you might still be holding on to tension, and exhale all the tension in the body. As you continue to relax and breathe deeply, just feel this beautiful field of light and love that we're all sitting in. It's a field of love that we share. We're always sharing this field. Even if we're not conscious of it, it's just that sometimes in meditation like this, we can actually become more conscious of it and feel it better, more easily. And this is true if you're listening to this in the future. There is no time and space on these calls at this level of awareness that we're working at. And so we're all together regardless of time, regardless of space. There are people, hundreds of people from all over the world who listen to these recordings. And just imagine that we're creating this beautiful web of love and light all around the world. So I invite you, as you relax and continue to breathe, just visualize and hold space for this field of love. And see yourself as a point of light, like an acupuncture needle on the earth, wherever you're sitting, wherever you happen to be. Just imagine yourself an acupuncture needle for the earth, human acupuncture needle. We're creating healings and openings just like acupuncture for our beloved Gaia and for humanity and for the natural world. As you breathe in the light, let it come into your heart. Feel it enter your heart center, right in the center of your chest. And when you exhale, breathe it out as love. It's like you are breathing in light and adding your love to it and breathing it out. As you practice this, just visualize and try to feel, if you can, how your love feeds the grid, feeds the network of light that wraps around the planet, that you as a human acupuncture needle are tapping into. So just be with this as I talk, just relaxing. You don't have to think about it. There's nothing to think about. There's really nothing to do. It's just a being, a feeling, sensing. It's mostly just receiving, really. So I invite you right now to just breathe and receive light. And just notice that as you exhale and add your love, you're feeding the grid of light. Just by receiving, just by being, you do this naturally. And you do this all the time. We do this all the time. It's just that when we focus on it, in meditation, we become aware of it. Breathing in the light, breathing out your love. Being yin, yin being the feminine principle in Taoism. It's the receptive principle. It's complete relaxation. It's a complete surrender, complete allowing. Letting go. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, nothing to think about. Just being. Just giving yourself the gift of being with your own spiritual journey right now. What a gift that is. So I invite you to visualize a stream of warm golden white light pouring down over the top of your head, sweeping through your body all the way down to the toes and the fingertips, relaxing every fiber of your being, releasing any tension or stress in the body. Sweeping you clean so that you can surrender, just completely letting go. Let's put our attention on the root chakra like we always do on these calls. The root chakra being at the base of the spine. And just feel how when you gently put your attention there, the root chakra naturally opens. And it's okay if you're new to this and you don't feel it, that's totally fine. You can just be aware of it and follow along. You can try to visualize it if you want. It doesn't really matter. My guess is that everybody's pretty sensitive on these calls, and I'm getting the sense that everybody's feeling something. So just be aware that just by gently putting your attention on the root, that chakra naturally opens and you can easily drop your grounding cord all the way down into the earth. Drop it down as far as it will go, all the way down to the core of the earth, if you can. And wrap your grounding cord around the core of the earth. You can feel and visualize the center of the earth like a beautiful golden sun. It's a golden, radiant energy. Molten gold. And feel how gravity gently pulls you towards the earth. And feel how supported you are from beneath by Mother Earth in the form of the chair and the floor. And just let go. Just relax into her embrace. Just feel yourself being cradled and nurtured by Mother Earth like a little baby in the arms of its mother. Completely letting go. Completely relaxing. Drawing her energy up into your body, through the soles of your feet, all the way up your legs, up to the pelvic area, all the way up the core of the body, all the way up to the top of the head. And feel, as you reach the top of the head, feel how the crown chakra naturally opens. The crown chakra, if you're new to this, is like a crown that a king or a queen would wear, and it sits on the top of the head. And it opens up and out like a 1,000-petaled lotus, as it's sometimes called. And just feel that opening of the crown, which connects us with the celestial realms. It's our connection to the oneness. Beyond polarity, beyond duality. And let's send our core energy straight out the top of the head. Visualize it as a beam of light or a silver cord or a gold cord. Send it all the way out into the celestial realms, out into formless space. And feel your connection with the heavens. And just receive that beautiful energy of the celestial realms. You can feel it and visualize it as a golden white light pouring down on you from above, like a gentle rain or mist, warm, golden, the energy of bliss, the energy of peace, filling up your body. Let it pour down as golden white light, filling up your aura and your body. Feeling every cell of your being receiving this beautiful light, which is a transmission of healing energy. And our only job right now is to just receive it. Nothing else. Just receive. Let go of any tension or thoughts, stress, distractions. Just let go. Fill up. Visualize every cell of your body like a miniature sponge, soaking up this light. Trillions and trillions of little tiny sponges soaking up the light, filling you up completely from head to toes. Filling you up so much that it fills up your arms and your hands and your fingers all the way down to the fingertips, and light begins to shoot out your fingertips. And then it's filling up your legs all the way down to your toes, filling up your toes so much that light shoots out the tips of your toes. And you might get a smile on your face, feeling so much peace and joy. When we do this exercise, it just brings such a natural inner peace that you might get a smile on your face, which is a great thing. Because then you tell the brain that you're happy by smiling, and it releases all the happy endorphins that feed your joy quotient. So just allow yourself to relax completely and feel this inner peace. And that's how it works. The foundation of our enlightenment is deep relaxation. And on top of that foundation of relaxation comes inner peace. And on top of the foundation of inner peace comes joy. So just allow that, just feel it, allow it, receive it, receive any light or joy or peace or whatever it is that you feel coming in right now. And it's okay if you're not feeling these things. I understand sometimes, we go through really hard times and we just can't feel that deep level of peace or joy. So that's okay. Not another reason to beat yourself up. But if you're able to just let go and relax and receive, then feel the joy that comes with it. I remember growing up in the church, and there was a phrase that was used every Sunday that I haven't held on to a lot from the church, but what I have held on to is the phrase, the peace that passes all understanding. So just allow that. Receive the peace that passes all understanding. Let it fill you up. So as you fill up, I'm going to just say a brief prayer and an invocation for our call today. Great Spirit, Divine Mother, Father God, the Self that we all are. We call on you, we call on all the guides and the teachers and the angels and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and gods and goddesses and all the beings in the invisible realms, the nature spirits, all who surround us in the highest love and support. We ask, please, that you wrap us up in a cocoon of beautiful golden white light and love and healing energy. Please surround us today, and we invite you into this sacred circle to be with us and guide our conversation into the highest love and the highest wisdom, so that we may each walk into the world and fulfill our soul's highest purpose. Hold our hands as we take this journey, and we give thanks, knowing that this is so. We especially give thanks for the opportunity today to share our love, to be part of this field of love. We're so grateful for all that we're given in life. We're thankful for these beautiful bodies that we get to wear for a few years on this beautiful, beautiful, fragile blue planet. We're so grateful for this opportunity to be incarnated in the physical at this amazing time, this most momentous time on planet Earth, when this massive collective awakening is happening. What an opportunity. What a gift. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then, when you feel ready, I invite you to slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, slowly open your eyes. Stretch a little bit if you want to. Stretching and yawning. That always helps us to receive and relax, the stretching and the yawning, to receive the light. Wow. So welcome again, everybody. Wow, that was so lovely. I could really feel just the love that we share. I hope you're able to feel it as well. It's such a beautiful field that we share and that we strengthen together on these calls. It's one of the reasons I just love being with you every month, is because we get this opportunity, you know? It's such a beautiful opportunity to open to that and to receive. It's interesting, we're going to talk more about receiving today. I didn't plan that guided meditation, but it's like I can feel that Spirit is really calling us to receive right now. So we'll talk more about that. But the first topic I wanted to talk about today is seeing beyond polarity and choosing love and joy above all else. And again, I know we talk about this frequently, and yet I got very, very clearly to talk about it in a certain way today. So please bear with me if some of it's a reminder for you, but it's sort of like the topic du jour. I mean, this is where it's at. So, we can all do with more practice of this subject. And since our last call in early December, I know we've been through so much. Most of us spent time over the holidays with family and friends, and I know sometimes that's very joyful, very inspiring, uplifting, and at other times it can be really challenging. And we did talk about that last month. And Leslie used to say, if you think you're enlightened, spend some time with your family. And if you're a mystic, spending time with your family is a great yardstick. It's a way to measure your spiritual growth, to see how awake you are. You know, can they push your buttons or not? How much can you hold on to your witness and your awakening? So I hope you were able to navigate that time okay, and that if it was challenging for you, that you were able to maintain your witness around all of it. Witnessing our patterns, the egoic patterns, is how we learn about our limitations, and then that's how we learn to grow beyond them. So it's all a very important process. There's no judgment around any of it, whether you had a meltdown or whether it was peaceful. It doesn't matter. It's simply the yardstick. You know, it's a place where you can learn to grow from. And I know many people who had a really hard time because of all the arguing about the polarities. You know, all the polarities that we often talk about on these calls, the masks, the vaccine, the conservative versus liberal, the, you know, you name it. I'm not even going to name them. It's like, it's just such a waste of our energy. It's such a waste of time and energy. And it's just being fomented, you know, it's being drummed up. It's like, the forces of separation are working overtime, inviting us, encouraging us into that morass of fear and separation. And, you know, we're all getting such a great opportunity right now to choose where we want to put our focus. It's incredible spiritual practice. So I just wonder if you're aware of that, if you were able to hold on to that awareness through the last month and a half or so. And I guess I wanted to just share with you a little bit about my own experience. I was with my family over the holidays. I hadn't seen them in a couple of years, which I think is true for many people. And I had such a wonderful time. I had such a delightful time with my family. I love them so much. And I think we were all just so tired of all that stuff that we just couldn't be bothered with it. It's like we're done. And I just wonder if you're feeling that too. I know a lot of people are, you know, and for us, for my family, some people were vaccinated, some people were not, some people are conservative, some are liberals, some wear masks, some don't wear masks. It's like, it's just all over the map. But what happened was we just were so in love with each other. We just wound up respecting each other's choices. And even though everyone was different, you know, we just all loved over each other, and we just chose not to dwell on the disagreements, but to focus on our love for each other. And I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not talking about suppressing. We weren't suppressing. There was no, like, purple elephant in the room, you know, no big pressure cooker of anger or, you know, people about to explode and they're stuffing it. Nothing like that. I'm just talking about focusing on love. And it's so refreshing. It's so healing. And that just led to this place of inner peace and incredible joy. And we loved it. We just loved it. And so when I heard from so many people about all the fighting in so many families over the holidays, it was just so distressing to me to hear that. And also, I just want to be clear. I'm not telling you about my family to try to blow my horn or anything like that. I'm not saying we're special. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm talking about this to say that anyone should feel. How do I say this? It's not about feeling special. Like, we shouldn't be feeling superior if we're able to hold our heart open and not spiral down into arguing. That's not what this is about. I just hope that you were able to practice holding your witness and holding your heart open in whatever situation you found yourself in. You know, that's the most important thing. It doesn't really matter what happened. It's the spiritual practice around it that matters. So I'm talking about it because this is the task of our times. it's so important right now, and this is the main thing, to focus on love, to choose love. That's the most important thing over anything else, is to choose the love as much as we possibly can over fear, over anger, over hatred, whatever it is. And I think it's important to recognize that so much of the polarization and the division in our world right now is being encouraged. It's being, like I say, fomented. It's being stirred. It's like somebody stirring the force, the separation, whatever you want to call them. They're stirring the pot. And especially if you watch or read the mainstream media, it's like both sides are being orchestrated to appeal to everybody's lowest nature and to try to get us to be afraid or to hate somebody or a group or to be angry with them, or, you know, whoever we feel is the quote unquote other side, whatever side of a polarity that may happen to be. And it doesn't really matter what it is. Like, you know, for example, the pros and cons of wearing masks or not, and vaccines or not, and the division between male and female, and black and white, and rich and poor, and conservative and liberal, and all the polarities. It's like all of that stuff is just such a big distraction. It doesn't really matter. And I think that's what I want to just call out today, you know, just to name it, that's the big lie in all of this. The big lie here is to make somebody else bad or wrong, or, you know, to blame them, or to make them anything less than human. You know, we're all perfect. We're all whole. We're all complete. We're not those divisions. We're not our personalities. We're not our likes and dislikes. We're not our preferences. We're pure awareness. We're love. We are spirit having a human experience. So this is the invitation of our times. It's to find the inner peace and the equanimity around all of this polarization and the fear and the separation in the world. And it's so easy to get sucked into it. It's so easy because we're being encouraged into all of it all the time. It's constant. We're being bombarded by it. And I just also, just to be clear, I just want to say I'm not saying that it's not okay to feel angry or to feel sad or whatever we're feeling about all these things happening in the world. Not at all. That is not what I'm talking about. I would say, in fact, if we're not feeling angry or sad from time to time about what's happening in the world, then there's probably something wrong with us. I mean, you know how this works. I'm sure I'm singing to the choir. It's really important to feel and express our emotions. We're not talking about suppression. We have to be truthful about that and not suppress, you know, just so that we can maybe feel more spiritual or something, or whatever it is. That's called spiritual bypassing. But in the end, you know, after we've expressed our emotions and we've named the emotions and we've witnessed them and we've let them go, that's when it's really important that we move into the states of love and inner peace and joy again. And that's how we each are going to contribute the most to the changes we want to see in the world. The more time that we can spend in those higher vibrations, the love and the peace and the joy, the more time we can spend there, the more we change ourselves, and then the faster the world will change as well. And those are the highest vibrations. I know you've heard me say that a million times if you listen to these calls, but, you know, love and joy and inner peace, those are the highest vibrations. And it's the highest outpicturing of the spiritual journey. And if, in fact, it's the main reason that we incarnate on planet Earth. We come here for that purpose, to experience joy. So let me say that again. We incarnate on Earth to experience joy. And isn't that the most amazing thing? Right? We're not taught that in school. Most parents and religions and so forth, they don't teach us that. I remember when I woke up to that some years ago, whenever it was, and I just marveled at it. I found it astonishing that's our primary purpose for life on earth, is to experience joy. And not only do most of us not get much experience of that, but the vast majority are not even aware of it. We don't even know that it's our soul's main purpose for being here. What is that about? It's sort of unbelievable if you meditate on that little tidbit. But I know we talk about this almost every month, but it is a very good reminder for all of us. It's really important right now that we find ways to choose love, to feel the joy, to live in the inner peace as much as we possibly can. And it's especially important to be aware of not getting sucked down into all of those arguments, the popular narratives about all the various polarities that we've named, and to remember to find a way to choose love instead of the fear, instead of the separation that goes with all of that stuff. So finding the ways to hold our vibration high, to stay in love and joy and inner peace. Let's move on. One of the other topics I wanted to talk about today is death and rebirth. The energy of death is really with us strongly right now. And you could also call it endings and beginnings, instead of death and rebirth. If death feels morose or depressing to you or something, you can look at it as endings and beginnings. But the truth is that over the past weeks, there have been a few very powerful spiritual masters that have left the body. Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa, and Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, and even our own beloved Leslie, my spouse. She is leaving her body in a more accelerated way now, and I don't want to go into that, but it's like, I guess what I've been feeling lately is that this is a theme. There's a pattern happening, and it's true that when a spiritual master leaves the body, it's like there's a disturbance in the force. Like a big shake-up on the inner planes. And it sometimes feels to me like there are several of these daily, several daily disturbances in the force nowadays. I don't know if you're feeling that or not, but it's what I'm feeling, and a number of people that I know are feeling it as well. It's like there's literally a redistribution of light on the planet right now. And they say that when a great spiritual master leaves the body, it's a time when a war can easily break out on the planet. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm not trying to, make anybody feel afraid or anything, but that's what, that's been around, that knowledge has been around for millennia, that's how that equation works. But at the same time, the other side of the equation is that there's also an opportunity for all of us to pick up the slack, and we get to embody more light in ourselves. So it's just part of the natural flow of things, that as some light goes out, more light comes in. It's like the waves in the ocean. It's just natural, the ebbing and flowing of light. And that's what's happening right now. And I wonder if you can feel it. We're really being given an opportunity right now to step more into our own awakening. We're being given this opportunity to hold more light, to carry more light. It's like an invitation that's been offered us if we want to choose that. And I know so many people going through this right now. There are some people going through it in very, very big ways and some in small ways. Some people are experiencing the ending of something like a relationship or the end of their time in a home or a job or, some situation that defines you. It's like that can be coming to an end. And I know someone a friend of mine is, she's saying goodbye to her home country, and she's emigrating to a country very far away, and she's probably never going to return to her home country in this life. And I know, like, I could give you more examples, but that's the kind of thing that's happening. It's like, well, another example would be a lot of people are experiencing the death of a loved one. Some people are leaving their bodies, literally. And many people are experiencing new beginnings as well, whether it's big or small. It might be the start of a new job or a new relationship or some kind of new financial situation or new location or whatever it might be. I know lots of people who are moving locations. I've heard a ton of people who are relocating. And either they just did it or they're planning to do it soon or whatever, but it's like this period of time is a shifting in that way. I know for some people, it's just been putting out the intention for something new to manifest in their life, or the intention to let something go, to end something that's been limiting them. And the physical things haven't necessarily manifested yet, but it's like they're in motion, being in the process of manifesting. So wherever you are on that spectrum, it's like this, we're in a massive pivot point, and it's collective. And so I wonder if you can feel that. A lot of people that I talk with can feel it. And if you can't, that's totally okay. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you can feel it or not, but it's good just to know that it's happening, to know that we're being gifted with this amazing opportunity to change and to move into something that suits us better. It's something new, something that's going to help us move into our fulfillment, move into our awakening, whatever you want to call it, more and more and more. And we don't necessarily know what that's going to look like. It's happening not just to us personally, but it's to the planet as a collective as well. And that's because collective consciousness shifts are like personal consciousness shifts, because the collective is just a group of individuals. So I know you know how that works, most of you. So you know that when we go through a personal spiritual breakthrough, we usually experience some kind of shattering around that. And that's what's happening collectively. We're experiencing some kind of collective shattering right now. And again, like I said, just to be clear, it doesn't matter if you feel it or not. It's happening at a subterranean level. It's beyond what we can see for the most part. And if you're not feeling it now, you'll probably start to feel it, or you might start to notice it manifesting as the changes in the physical world that start becoming more obvious in the coming weeks and months or whatever. But it's big. Whatever's happening right now, it's big. And it's necessary as well. The shattering is necessary because when we go through that, it opens the way. It allows the old way, the old form to break up, to fall apart, and then there can be a reforming. And it's just like the caterpillar. When the caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, at first it has to go through the pupa phase, which is when it creates its cocoon, and then it liquefies itself. I keep getting that image that I feel it for me personally, but I see it in other people too. It's like sometimes I just feel liquid. I just feel like I am a mess. I'm a liquid in a cocoon, and I keep reminding myself there's a butterfly that's emerging. So it's like our old sense of ourself is completely dissolving, completely shattering. And we have to go through this. It's really uncomfortable. It's formless. And it's, like I said, it's like a liquefaction. But we have to experience it before we can rebirth into something new, like the butterfly. And the ego has a really hard time with this. The ego really, really has a hard time with formlessness and change. And I laugh because I know so many people who've been through this, and really all, when you get to the point where you've done this enough, that's all you can do is laugh. It's just like, okay, here we go. More formlessness, more change, more shattering. Because the principle is that the ego is synonymous with control, and it's built to stay the same at all costs. And it doesn't want to go through all that other stuff, the pain and the fear and the stuckness and all the things, the shattering, everything that's associated with transformation. So at times like this, we have to work really hard to be extra gentle and loving with ourselves and with our friends who might be going through it as well. So the invitation through all of this, to all of us, is to remember some of the key things, and these are the key principles that we talk about often on these calls. Number one is to witness, and I'm not going to go into what that is. If you might be brand new to these calls, we talk about it so much, and you could read about it in our book, The Marriage of Spirit, if you want to. There's a chapter there. But witnessing is really the key, and it's the main practice for right now is to practice witnessing. And another thing is just to be okay with whatever discomfort we might be feeling, and formlessness and unknowns, all these things that the ego has a hard time with. It's just to be with them, just to feel them and allow them and let that be okay. That's part of witnessing, but let's call it out for what it is. And so the third piece, the third key, I would say, for right now in this practice is, as much as possible, to just go yin, like we practiced in our guided meditation just now. And so I know some people may not know what that means. Some people do know what going yin means, and so this will be a reminder for you. But I'd like to take a look at it. I kind of want to double click on that. And it's one of the topics that I was very clearly guided we needed to talk about today. The power of going yin. So the yin is the feminine principle, but it's not just for women. All of us, men and women, we all have a yin side, a feminine side. And maybe the easiest way to talk about it is to just list some of the ways that we can practice going in. And one of them is just to slow down. Just either stop completely or slow down, whatever you're capable of. And things like practicing self-care, being in nature, petting your cat, petting your dog, sketching, drawing, painting, things like that, simple things. It's basically about not trying to be productive in the normal way, in a yang kind of way, the masculine way, which is outer and physical productivity in the world. So doing as little normal kind of work that's being productive in the world as much as you possibly can right now. And I know that it's not really possible for everybody to stop completely. There are very few people who can do that. But as much as it's possible for you, do as little as you can. Limit your productivity. And if you happen to be somebody who's blessed enough to have the time and the capacity to just stop and not be productive at all outwardly, well, this is the perfect time for that. So take full advantage of that if that's you. And I just want to be clear, I'm not saying that yin is not productive, because yin is inner productivity. It's just as productive as yang. It's equally as productive, but it's in an inner way, not an outer way. And so the invitation right now is to just go yin for as long as you can, for at least for a little while longer, until a yang cycle kicks in and it's time to go yang again. But it's just not time for most people to be very yang and outer focused right now. So there are a lot of opportunities. There's, let's say there's power in activities like visioning, preparing, being creative in a sort of inner way. We're taught in the Yang culture that yin or feminine is worthless. We're taught that it has no value. We're taught not to feel okay about allowing ourselves to be yin. And that's a lie. It's part of the big lie of our culture. The yin or the feminine is equally as powerful as the masculine or the yang. And again, we have both inside of us. And I love referring, if you look at the yin-yang symbol, you know that it's got the big white blob and the big black blob. And inside the white blob, there's a tiny black dot. And inside the black blob, there's a tiny white dot. And it's what it's showing us is that none of this is ever 100% one-sided. So in other words, we don't ever need to fear that going into the yin side means that we'll lose the yang or we'll never be yang again. It's not about that. So giving in to the yin is like, it's like knowing that the seed of yang is planted and will grow again one day. So I guess like a practical example of that would be to think of a plant where it may look like it's not growing, but in fact the roots are growing under the ground. So it's invisible to our physical 3D eyes, and there doesn't appear to be any productivity, there doesn't appear to be any growth, but there is, and it's just all subterranean and it's not being seen. So that's what's happening to us right now. I feel like that's a really good image. I think I even mentioned it last month. I can't remember. I know I've mentioned it before, but it's like, it's really clear that that's what's going on with us right now for a little while longer. And if you happen to be somebody that's in a yang phase and this doesn't resonate at all for you, then just go for it. Like, you know, you might have been born with the planets in a different position as most people. I know some people who are like that. They're really experiencing a lot of yang right now, and they're definitely in the minority. They feel a little out of place. But if that's you, there's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with it if you're experiencing the opposite of what I'm talking about. It's great that you can function, but it's just that for most people, that's not what's happening right now. So no judgment on any of that. But my personal experience, what I can tell you is happening for me and for so many people I know is, well, let me just speak for myself. I have felt for the past few weeks completely dysfunctional. I'm sleeping a lot. It's really hard to get out of bed in the morning. And I'm not a coffee drinker. I started a few days ago, my body was calling for coffee. So I just allowed myself to start drinking coffee. And it's funny, I talked to a friend of mine just the other day about all of this, and turns out she's feeling exactly what I'm feeling. And she's a huge coffee drinker. She loves her coffee. And what we discovered is that she stopped drinking coffee on the exact same day that I started drinking coffee. So what are the odds of that? I mean, I thought about that, and I thought, well, you know, that shows me that we're all going through change. We need to listen to the body. The body is super intelligent. It knows what it needs, and it's going to tell us what it needs. And I feel like we have to be open to whatever the change is. I don't plan to get addicted to coffee, but it sure does taste good right now. I had a cup this morning, so I'm planning to have some more for the next few days at least, because I can feel like my body just really wants that. So I invite you to feel into what are the changes you're going through, and what is your body calling for? Is your body wanting some kind of change in your diet or your routines or exercise or whatever it is you're doing? I think another personal thing I wanted to share with you is that I have felt, it's very difficult to describe, so forgive me, I'm kind of grasping for words here, but I've felt profoundly shattered at a very deep level of my innermost being. And the only way, the only image I get to describe it is like Humpty Dumpty. If you're from a country other than the U.S. or England or English-speaking countries, you might not know the nursery rhyme of Humpty Dumpty, but Humpty Dumpty was the giant egg who fell off a wall and shattered. So I feel like all those pieces are floating around inside of me, and they're kind of rattling around and holding together, but barely. And I'm just sort of allowing this, being with the formlessness of it, being with the unknown of it, allowing myself to feel the discomfort, to feel the awkwardness, remembering that this is a gift and an opportunity at some level. I've also felt extremely emotional. I just allow myself to grieve and cry, even if there doesn't seem to be a reason. I allow joy to come through as well when it wants to, and I've had those experiences over the past month or so. So I feel like this might be a good point to shift gears into the next topic. I wanted to talk to you about highs and lows that many people are experiencing right now. And the extreme swings, from high and low, I think they can be associated with this new moon, what I call, if you missed the beginning of the call, I was talking about tomorrow's new moon. It's a black moon, it's called, because it's twice in 1 month that we get it, at least in the U.S. But I think this is it's a much bigger deal than that. This has been going on for a while now. So I think some days we can experience extreme highs and extreme lows within a few moments of each other. That's how odd this feels. It can make you feel a little nuts, actually. So if this resonates for you and you're feeling distraught, take heart. You're not alone. One moment we can feel incredible joy, and we can feel like there's hope for our future, and the world is, in a fantastic place. And then the next, we go down into the hopelessness and the despair, and the world is doomed and all is lost, and we feel meaninglessness and purposelessness. But then it swings back, and we realize, wait a minute, we've got everything to live for. And the truth is that that's the most exciting thing, because we're in a time that is extraordinary. It's just an amazing time to be alive, because we're in the biggest transformation that the planet has ever seen. So that's the truth of all this. We're in a birth canal right now. We're in the birth canal of the new paradigm of the heart. And so many extraordinary, positive changes are coming. And we're the pioneers. So we just need to remember to witness all of these emotions and let them pass through, and know that we're not the emotion. And remember that we are the pure awareness. The emotions are passing through us. And I know that's easier said than done, but it's the key. This is the key to life right now, as a mystic anyway. So even if you can just mentally, at a mental level, remind yourself of that as often as you can, that's good enough. And to remember to choose love as much as we possibly can, like I've been speaking about. And to remember that that's who we are. We are love. And that's the new paradigm of the heart. It's the knowing that we're made of love. It's the waking up to that knowledge. And it's more than the knowledge. It's the experience of it. It's experiencing being love. And it's so beautiful when we get those experiences. Sometimes it's just a little glimpse, but whenever we have any experience of that, it's a high point. It's a peak. It's like a Satori experience. And I wanted to share a personal experience with you. I had a personal experience of this recently. It was like an epiphany. That was the word I was looking for. What happened was nothing special, actually. I wasn't doing anything special, but like I suddenly felt this sunburst inside my chest for no apparent reason. And it was, the feelings associated with it were joy and gratitude. I would say, if I had to define the two main feelings, it was joy and gratitude for all of life, for the smallest things of life, just to be alive, just to be able to breathe, just to be able to look at a tree, just to be able to walk and feel the sunshine and the warmth on my skin. And I remember I was out hiking and I just stopped and I stood there crying. I was just crying with so much joy and gratitude. I had gone on a getaway for a week and a half to a special place outside of Santa Fe in New Mexico in early January when I was there visiting my family. And I took a little time for myself. And that's something I haven't done in a very, very long time, is given myself a gift like that. And so I share that with you because I think that that's part of the power of going in right now and practicing self-care. It's like we're being given this opportunity to receive some very powerful inner experiences at the moment, if we choose to stop and listen and receive. So I highly encourage you to take that time right now to go inward, go yin if you can, if it's at all possible, and do whatever you're feeling guided to do, whatever kind of self-care, whatever kind of slowing down, whatever you're capable of, and just go yin, just receive whatever is there for you. And you might be surprised. I've heard this from a number of people, so it's almost like there's a gift sitting there on the inner planes waiting for us. So I also wanted to take some time today to talk about, I guess, what could be called the biggest collective process on the planet. It's the biggest, the biggest knot in consciousness on the planet. So if you could name one thing, if you could just name one knot in human consciousness, the main one, what do you think it would be? While you think about it, I'm going to take a sip of water. If you've been on the CoreLight calls for a while, you know the answer. It's victim consciousness. Victim consciousness is the biggest process facing humanity at the moment. And so the victim has its counterparts. And today I wanted to talk about the savior persona and the martyr persona. So how do we move beyond the old paradigm of victims and saviors and martyrs? Oh my. Since we've been talking about how challenging these times can be for people, I just wanted to acknowledge that I know a lot of people have been through two of the hardest years of their lives. I've heard that from a number of people. And so it's super easy to be spending time in victim consciousness. And the truth is that generally we don't even know we're in it, because it's like a fish swimming in water. We're all swimming in this sea of victim consciousness because it's collective, and we don't even know that the water we're in is victim consciousness. So we just naturally see through a lens of the victim. And I think it's really important as we name this, to have compassion for ourselves and to have compassion for each other. You know, if we find ourselves slipping into these roles, or we watch friends or family doing that, it's totally natural. There's nothing to feel ashamed about, no judgment, and I'm not bringing this up so that we can have another reason to beat ourselves up. That's not what this is about. This is a totally human experience, especially right now at the time of the big shift. This is what we have to shift, so of course we're going to be in it. It's natural. So the key that I wanted to talk about today is that the victim plays an opposite with these other personas, like the things we all know: the tyrant, the savior, the martyr, the rebel. Those are the 5 big archetypes. And it's a huge topic, and I did teach a whole course on the subject a couple of years ago, which we're planning to release sometime this year. It's actually almost ready. And I know if you've been around CoreLight for any length of time, you know a lot about this dynamic. So I'm not going to talk about it in depth now, but I got a very clear message to bring this up today from guidance. And I was shown something new about it. So even if you've heard Leslie and me talk about this many times, I have something new that I can share with you about it. I met with a lot of people in the last month who told me how hard it's been for them. And you know, for many of their friends and their family, and it's just very easy to get stuck in victim consciousness around all this stuff that we've been experiencing. Many people have experienced the death of loved ones. A lot of families have been cooped up together for way too long. A lot of people were crowded together in very small spaces for a long time. A lot of people have been traumatized by just the amount of separation that has encompassed us in the whole world. Not being able to be close to family and friends. You know, I know some people have had parents or grandparents or friends die alone, especially in hospitals, without being able to have people near them. You know, just really, really traumatic experiences for people all over the world. And we've all been through our own challenges as a result of COVID and all the resulting things from that for the past couple of years. So there's been this fair amount of separation and fear, chaos, you know, all these things in the world. And so for now, I think it's just important to acknowledge how we might be feeling victimized and to allow those feelings to come out. We name them, we witness them, we process them, and then we let them go as much as we possibly can. And there's something that happened to me over the holidays that I found very helpful to add to this practice. And it was a friend of mine who reminded me of something that Leslie used to say 30 years ago, long time ago. She would talk about this shift of the ages that we're in, you know, the shift of the paradigm of separation into what she called the new paradigm of the heart. And it's essentially, basically she was talking about the shift out of victim-tyrant consciousness. And so she would always say that big changes were coming, but that no matter how chaotic and crazy it got out in the world, the spiritual principles would always hold true. And I feel it's just especially important for us, all of us right now, to remember that, because that is the ultimate truth with the capital T. The spiritual principles will always hold true, no matter what. So that's an anchor. It's something we can hold on to through these times of massive transformation. And when we can't ground on the physical world in the way we used to because of the massive changes and the chaos that's out there, we can ground on that knowledge that the spiritual principles will always be true. So I hope that's helpful. And I also, before we shift off the topic, this is the piece I really wanted to share with you, is that I also talked with a friend a few weeks ago who really inspired me, because she's been in one of those very, very difficult situations for the past couple of years. She's a mother of three younger kids who were all homeschooling most of that time. You know, they were older than 5, but younger than 18. And so suddenly she was thrown into the position of the whole family being together in the same house, which is not a huge house, and she had to cook 3 meals every day, 7 days. She had to manage the family 24/7. And so without going into too much detail about it, I can just tell you that when she was telling me that, she was in tears. And she was sharing with me how that experience of the last couple of years had brought her to her knees in a new way. She's been on a spiritual path for a very long time. She's a mature spiritual seeker, been around CoreLight for a long time, so she knows how to do the clearing work, the self-inquiry work. But she hit a new low point in her life. She became just exhausted, so exhausted to the point where she said, I would be happy if I fell asleep and I never woke up again. And it broke my heart because I know her very well. And I just thought, well, I guess first I just feel like I just want to give a shout out to all the parents who might be listening to this, who went through something similar in the last couple of years. God bless you. I've got so much compassion for the parents, and it's like I said to my friend, you guys are heroes. You know, the path of parenting is such a noble path, and it really teaches us about unconditional love, and I know that that's not easy. And even if you're not a parent, you might have been in a similar situation where you were asked to care for people, so it applies to you too. But I talked with her about this lesson of feeling victimized and how that persona of the victim is so intimately connected to the martyr, and that the martyr is the combination of the two personas, the victim and the savior. A martyr is basically somebody who's a savior and at the same time they're a victim. So when we run any kind of patterning that can be associated with what I would call self-sacrificing, it can easily tip into the martyr. And she really identified with that. She felt like while she was doing it out of love, she essentially martyred herself for the sake of the family, who she loves so much. They're a family who really love each other. They're not at odds with each other. So she felt confused by this, and we wound up having a long conversation about it. And so I can't talk about it at length, but just briefly, on the one hand, it was totally necessary that she wanted to serve her family out of love, and she was happy that she did it. And on the other hand, she also knew that martyrdom is the old way. It's a persona that's part of the old paradigm, and it's associated with the victim consciousness, which we're moving out of. So we talked a lot about it, and a few things came out that I can share with you. And again, this is a huge topic, so this is just briefly touching on a few points. But one of the most important things we talked about was finding the balance of service and practicing self-care. And it turns out she hadn't been doing any self-care, and that's why she'd gone into burnout. So I guess it was my job to help point that out to her. So we talked about the way I put it is that it's the airline mask principle, which is that we need to remember to put our own mask on first before we put the mask on our children, because if we don't take care of ourselves, then we're not going to be able to take care of anybody. So I suggested that she start by making a list of intentions for this new year and to add self-care to it. And even if it's just totally minimal, like I'm talking like just get 20 minutes once a week or twice a week to do some yoga or walk in the woods or whatever it is that feeds and nourishes you. Or it might be, a massage once every couple of weeks or whatever it is, just something, anything that feeds you. And she committed to doing that, which I know is, it's going to make an enormous difference. And I talked about how it might mean that she needs to talk with her family and speak some truth with them and let them know that she can't continue in the same way. And she might have to draw some quote unquote healthy boundaries, to basically ask for support and say, I just can't do all this stuff and I need you to help me. And she'd already done a lot of that. She'd already been having those kind of conversations, and her husband, such a loving man, and he'd been doing some of the cooking and the cleaning and everything. And but there was more to be done. So I just felt like what it reminded me of is those of us who are empaths, those of us who are sensitives, we can so easily fall into this pattern. So I think I was guided to share this today because I get the sense that maybe some of us on the call need to take stock of this, that this is the default pattern that we can so easily fall into, is pleasing other people and sacrificing ourselves for the good of others, and we do it out of love. But it can be so imbalanced. And so the important step for us is to learn to speak up for our own needs. And that, just like fingernails on a chalkboard, it's just so hard for us because we want to just keep giving. We want to just keep giving and giving and giving. But we're learning. We cannot live the martyr program. It's an old path, and it doesn't serve anymore. And that's partly why we're here. It's partly what we're doing right now, is we're moving beyond that. So we also talked about where that martyr program comes from. And it's a program that comes from old religious lifetimes. And for many of us, it's in this lifetime too, where we might have been taught that, focusing on yourself is bad. Focusing on yourself is selfish. And focusing on everybody else to the point of your own detriment is good. And that's called selflessness. And so, in fact, to martyr yourself is the way to heaven or the way to be saved, or, some kind of redemption for being worthless or a sinner or whatever. And this is all incorrect. These are all erroneous teachings. They're associated with the old paradigm of victim consciousness, where it's about suffering, it's about self-sacrifice, it's about burden bearing. These are the things that are the goal. The more suffering, more self-sacrifice, the more we can bear a burden, the better we are. So I'm sharing this because I wonder if any of you might be resonating with this. Is this a dynamic that you might be playing out to some degree? So many of us on the spiritual path play this out, so I wouldn't be surprised if everybody were raising their hands right now. And so many of us have learned, whether it's in this lifetime or another one, to wear our martyrdom like a badge of honor. And so again, this is a huge topic, and we could go into it more, but we really need to move on. So the last thing, this is the piece I wanted to get to with you. The thing that we talked about, my friend and I, was that the martyr and the savior personas, they measure life through their level of suffering and self-sacrifice. But the mystic, which is the persona that we're all using to replace the martyr or the savior, measures their life through their level of joy. So it's not that you don't sacrifice, because especially as a parent, you often need to sacrifice. And if you're in a position of service, you need to sacrifice. So if you do sacrifice, you give with joy. So if you're in this position where you're caring for someone, maybe not even as a parent, but just as an empathic friend maybe who gives to others a lot, or if you're a boss and you're managing employees, or you're caring for an elderly or a sick person, if your position in service in any way, then this is the important key to remember. So I'm going to just say it again really succinctly. This is, to me, this, when I came upon this, it really helped me. So I share it with you. I'm just repeating what I just said. The martyr or the savior measures life through their level of suffering and self-sacrifice. But the mystic measures life through their level of joy. So if you find yourself doing some kind of self-sacrificing, it needs to be done consciously, and it needs to be done with joy. So I hope that's helpful. And gosh, I'm looking at the time. I'm so sorry we're not moving as quickly as I thought today. So let's get to, I think we're on our last topic for the day before we open to questions. The collective awakening into the new paradigm of the heart. And this is actually the thing that I felt I really, really wanted to get to today. So I'm just going to make sure we cover it. I wanted to talk about taking stock of the fact that the whole planet has been through this 2-year experience almost at this point. And of course, it's unprecedented what we've been through. And it's been the physical outpicturing of that massive, massive energy shift that happened in December of 2012. And it really marks the physical beginning of a bigger shift that's in consciousness. It's so much bigger than we can imagine. And it's not really possible to fathom the magnitude of what we're going through right now because it's so much bigger than what most people realize. I remember when COVID started back in March of 2020, almost 2 years ago, and I was talking with a friend of mine who's a very clear channel, somebody who I really respect and trust, and she told me that her spiritual guides spoke to her inwardly, and they told her that the whole COVID thing was going to last 2 years. And when she told me that, it resonated, something kind of clunked inside me. It resonated as truth. But you know how these things are, you hear predictions and stuff, and so you never know for sure. And I didn't really talk about it. I may have mentioned it on one of the Spiritual Weather Report calls back then, but you never know about those things. And I also got a very clear inner message at that time. And the message was, this is the beginning of the freeing of the slaves. I remember it kept, like, I thought it was odd, and I just tried to ignore it, but it kept coming, and so I wrote it down. And I know it might sound a little strange, but the way I took it was that it's pretty obvious that we're all slaves to money and to the clock and to the ego and to all of these limiting systems that we've created on Earth. And, you know, these things can be like a prison to us if we let them be. And they're not really a prison, and we're not really slaves. But there's a part of us that believes we are. We think we're slaves. We think we're prisoners of a system of separation. Just like in the Matrix. That's the best example I can give. So, yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I remember getting super excited and feeling like, oh boy, this is huge. Something really, really big is coming, you know. And I still feel that way. I can still feel the truth of it. We're in store for massive transformation. And the 2 years that we've just gone through with COVID is a catalyst, let's say, or a crucible, or like an incubation period or something. But whatever you want to call it, or however you want to look at it, it's just a massive shift, and it's a massive opportunity for everybody. So we get to choose now how we're going to use this experience, how to view this time. We can either choose to focus on the negative aspect and feel victimized by it, feeling victimized by the virus or by our circumstances, or, you know, whoever we might think are the tyrants or the perpetrators in the world, or we can choose to transform. We can use it as an opportunity and we can see it as the gift for the transformation. We get to practice the spiritual teachings. We get to use this time for our own ascension in consciousness. So anyway, one of the main points of sharing all this with you is that I read an article the other day where the author was a researcher, and he was comparing a lot of the news stories around the planet. And honestly, I've been trying to stay away from that kind of stuff, but I was drawn to this one article. And he was pointing out that in the past couple of weeks or so, there's been a shift in the mainstream narrative. And he was showing all this evidence to support his theory that the end of this whole COVID experience is in sight. He was, and the thing that jumped off the page at me was he said it's going to be in March. Even picked some dates and reasons why it would be those dates. And so that was exactly what my friend's spiritual guide said a couple of years ago. So again, we never know about these things, but I do get a strong feeling that we're about to be finished in a certain kind of way with this whole thing. And not that it's going to end. I'm not saying that. I'm not I want to just be really clear. I'm not saying we're going to go back to some kind of normal, whatever normal is anymore. I don't think that's ever, that's certainly not possible. But it's going to be like a shift into a new level of the changes that are in store for us. Whatever is going to help the planet shift into the new paradigm of the heart. So that's it's like the next phase of that. And I get the sense that almost everybody on the planet is so tired of this whole thing. It's just like I was describing my family. It's just like we're over it. We're just ready to be done with this no matter what. And the truth is, the spiritual truth is that when collective consciousness tips like that, it usually starts to manifest in the physical. So I got a hopeful feeling, and let's see what happens. I just felt the truth of it, and I thought it might be helpful to you, so I thought I would share it with you. So hope to hang in there just a little bit longer. And again, I've talked about this before, so I just want to be super, super clear. I'm not implying that we're going to be done with the experience and everything is going to have any kind of resemblance of normalcy. That's not what I'm talking about. It's more like being finished with a phase of the whole spectrum of collective awakening. And so it's just that the next thing is going to be coming, whatever that is. And, I've talked about this before. I feel like what we're in store for is a series of things over the next few years. But who knows what that's going to be like? We don't know. And I guess it's important to say that the collective movement into the new paradigm of the heart is going to happen in ways that we can never imagine. We're going to continue to have, big, tectonic shifts in the next few years. And like I was sharing earlier in the call, there's something massive happening right now on the inner planes anyway, and we can't know how that's going to manifest in the physical yet. It's like it's going to be a surprise. It's the gift that we get to unwrap, whatever that looks like. The fun of life in a human body on planet Earth is about not knowing what's coming next in this virtual reality of ours. So just like we never could have imagined these past 2 years of the COVID experience, right? I mean, who knew? Who knew that was coming? But just like on our personal spiritual journey, we can never know what that transformation is going to look like. Like I said before, the collective is just a group of individuals. So just like we can't know what our personal awakening is going to look like, we can't know what the events are going to look like that bring about the collective awakening, or even what the collective awakening is going to look like physically, right? It's just all one big gift, surprise, and we can't control it. We're not going to be able to know what it will look like. We are just having to learn to be okay with not knowing, and even, confusion and formlessness and all these things that drive the ego nuts. So it's just the perfect time to practice surrendering to the unknown and the confusion and our inability to control. And we just won't be able to keep things the same. We can't keep things the way we might like them to be. And we're learning to be okay with whatever is happening, even if it's awkward and uncomfortable. So just to close, I guess, before, if any of you if you might be feeling the despair that I was describing before, if you're in that camp and you're feeling more hopeless and maybe angry or despairing or whatever you're feeling around what's going on, before you give in to that, before you give in to the fear of some kind of terrible future, remember, we have no idea. We have no idea what it's going to look like. And that's a really good thing. It's perfect that way. And we need to remember that there are many, many benevolent beings on the inner planes who want to see the human experiment succeed. They want to help all life on Earth succeed. They want this to continue. And these are the beings who have the most power. So their message, the message of the highest guides, is that the way we can support this shift the most is to keep our vibration as high as possible. So we're coming full circle here. This is how we started the call. It means that we need to try to spend as much time as we possibly can in those high vibration states: joy, love, and inner peace. And it's like Leslie always talked about, the greatest gift that we can give the earth is our own awakening. Okay, so I feel like that's the place we need to end today. It was a lot. Hope you're not sound asleep by now. If you are, you can listen later when you wake up. Let's go to the questions. We had some wonderful, wonderful questions this time. And in case you might be new to the way this works, you can email questions in advance to courses@corelight.org, or if you're on the web call, you can type your questions onto the Q&A board and we'll look at those for next month's call. It's not possible to answer all the questions we get, but I do read them all and I do get to as many of them as I can. And just know that if you've asked a question and it doesn't get answered today, that it might get answered next month, or if it doesn't get answered by me, the answer will come from somewhere else, whether it's another teacher or a dream, or, comes to you in meditation or through a book or whatever. Someone will show you the answer somehow. And I know sometimes we get questions in at the very last minute before, and so usually those get saved for the next month. So one of the questions is from Dawn, and Dawn says, is it possible to live from an awakened perspective and be highly successful? Let me read that again. Is it possible to live from an awakened perspective and be highly successful in all aspects of ordinary life? How are these two dimensions of being to be balanced? So it's such a great question. Thank you, Don. I really appreciate the question. And, the short answer is yes. Yeah, of course, we can. We can have both. But let's just unpack it a bit. The two things you're talking about go hand in hand. Worldly success is completely interrelated with our level of spiritual awakening. And I think it's important to recognize that one of the fundamental principles that your question alludes to is that our spiritual life is our worldly life. There actually is no difference, even though we separate them. So before I answer your question further, it's just really interesting timing that you would ask this, because I'm going to be teaching the course that I mentioned earlier in the call that focuses on this topic, and it's the very first course that Leslie ever offered many, many years ago, and it's called Spiritual Warrior Training. And it's for both beginning and advanced seekers. We're going to be listening to her audios from that course. And I'm going to be guiding the course and offering some live Zoom calls to answer the questions that come up. But I know many, many people on these calls have already been through the course long ago. And I first took the course 30 years ago. And what's amazing to me is that I've re-listened to those audios of Leslie's many, many times over 30 years. And I always get something new from them. And so what's amazing about your question is that and the reason I'm telling you this is because I just re-listened to them for the first time in the last 5 years. I just started listening to them again in the last couple of weeks. And I'm still getting new insights, and I'm still taking in deeper layers from those audios. So I share that because your question is well timed since I've been focused on this very subject. So I guess the way I would answer your question is basically the way that it works is that it's all about energy. It's all about how we manage our energy and how to use our energy impeccably. That word impeccable is important. Leslie has one of the audios in the course is called impeccability. She defines what that means as from a spiritual perspective. And the way she describes it is that there's an equation between the condition of our physical world and the level of power that we carry in our spiritual life. Those two things correlate. So, for example, if your physical world is full of chaos and mess and it's a hectic life and, you're just busy all the time and you're not doing so well, if you've got a lot of habits and routines that drain your energy, then you're not going to be able to reach the higher states of consciousness. That's very important to know. We're not taught that necessarily, so it's really important to know about that. And specifically, the question you asked was, how are the two dimensions of being to be balanced? And so I would say that it goes both ways. As you become more impeccable in your daily life, and as you learn to manage your physical, mental, emotional energy better and better and better, you're also building your spiritual muscle. And as you practice that, you lay a foundation for your ascension in consciousness. You find you can awaken to the truth of who you are. You can discover your true self a lot more easily and a lot faster that way. It's like you start to have more and more of these spiritual experiences and awakenings, the more you get your quote-unquote real world or 3D world life in order. And the reverse is also true. As you practice building your spiritual light, and as you awaken more spiritually, your physical life improves enormously. And I'll bet you almost everybody on this call has experienced that. And that can feel kind of miraculous when you discover that equation is true. It's such a joy when you learn how to manifest your dreams through the practice of impeccability and through your spiritual awakening, both. And I know so many people who've experienced that. A lot of people actually come to CoreLight for that purpose. It's like they'll come because they want to find their soulmate, or maybe they want to manifest a career, like a really amazing career that they've always dreamt of, or they want to make a lot of money, or whatever it is. But communicating with animals is another one. A lot of people come to this because they want to communicate with the natural world, whatever it is. And then when somebody manifests the thing that they want, they feel so happy and so fulfilled that they stop their spiritual path. They stop seeking enlightenment, and that's okay. That for many, many people, that's all that their soul might want in this life. They just might want that, to have that experience of that one thing in the physical. And once they have that physical experience, they experience joy, and they maintain the joy, and that's all they need. So they're done, and sometimes we never see them again. They go off into the sunset, happy people. And I know, a lot of other people want so much more, and they do take the path further, and they go into higher and higher awakenings. And ultimately, I guess I would say it's about love. It's the experience of ourselves as love. It's about becoming love. It's hard. It's really hard to describe this. This is something that has to be experienced. We are love, and we get to experience that. But Leslie does a fantastic job in the course of describing it. She actually puts words to it, and she shares her experience of it and helps us to learn how to get there. And I found that very empowering. And it's, really it's just a remembering. It's just remembering who we are. And it's actually quite simple. And we've got all this stuff in the way. So it's a lot about clearing the stuff that gets in the way of that remembering. And when we do remember it, and when we start to live it, to live the love, that's when we realize that everything is made of love. The plants, the animals, the natural world, other humans. And that's when we experience our oneness with the rest of the world. And it's when we start to have very clear communications with the rest of the natural world. Our telepathy develops at that point. It's that unified field that physics, that quantum physics is talking about. And it's what I talked about in the beginning of the call, that field of love that we share. So it's different for everybody, It's perfect however it looks for each person, no matter what people choose to do with their awakening. So just to wrap up, to further answer your questions a little bit, the balance of the two worlds completely depends on the individual. There's not a rule. There's no specific thing about how to balance your worldly life and your spiritual life. But there are lots of methods that can help create that balance so that you can succeed and thrive in whatever way you want to, whether it's spiritually or physically or anything in between or whatever. And we're going to be offering a lot more about that in the Spiritual Warrior Training course sometime in the coming months. Like I said, it might be in May or June when we actually get it ready. So anyway, Dawn, thank you so much for the question. As I said, very well timed. I'm really happy. I'm excited to be able to talk about it and to share all of this amazing information that Leslie brought forward long ago and the transmission that comes with it. Just going to take a sip of water before I continue. Okay, we've got, let's take one more question. I wish I had time for more. I'm so sorry, but we're running out of time. So the next one is from Dawn. First one is from Dawn, and the next one is from Dawn. She says, I have taken your course of animal communication and have now found that by tuning into the wild animals, i.e. seagull, pelican, they have clearly followed suggestions and directions. Can you please discuss how this is possible? Are we tapping into a shared energy field? I know animals have intelligence, but for them to follow suggestions and understanding is something completely different. Thank you. Dawn, thank you so much. I love this question. There is yes. It's about tapping into that shared energy field. So you kind of answered your own question here, but I'm so glad you asked it and that you brought the subject up, because I can't tell you how many people that I've heard from who are having a similar experience, and I include myself. And I'm working it out myself. I don't know what's going on. I haven't talked to my friend Anna in a while. She's been busy. She'd probably have the answer for us. But I can tell you, it's like, I don't know, but it feels to me like the veils are just getting thinner all of the time. And so the communications that we can have with the natural world are getting clearer all the time. And it's kind of miraculous. It feels miraculous. I can tell you, like, just a couple of quick examples. Like last week, a friend told me something very similar to what you're saying. She had an experience with a cat where she already had pets in the house, and the cat was semi-wild, and she brought the cat into the kitchen to feed it. And when the cat left, the other animals said to her, "How could you do that to us? You brought a predator into our space." And so she felt so bad that she'd betrayed all of her other little creatures in the house. And it's somebody in Africa, and there are bush babies that are living in the roof, and lizards all around, all kinds of other creatures that she loves and takes care of. And so she had a talk with the cat, and she said, "I'm so sorry, but you can never, ever come into the house, this part of the house again. You can't come in the kitchen, where it's like a main house, a structure that has the kitchen and living room and dining room." And she told the cat, "You can never come in here again." And this is a very vocal cat, a very willful cat. And she said that the next day when the cat came back, instead of meowing and meowing at the door, it just sat on the doorstep. It didn't come in. It didn't want to come in, and it's never come in again. And she asked me the same question you're asking. She said, it's like a miracle. She said, like, she was all ready for a tussle to try to convince this cat or try to find ways to keep the cat out. But it did exactly what she asked for, and it has continued to abide by that. And I've had my own experiences of that. And now I know that may not be totally unusual, like my friend Anna Breitenbach, she experiences that all the time. But what I think we're discovering right now, that what's happening more and more frequently with people and animals, it's that this is happening in such extraordinary ways that you would not think were possible. And it's happening to those of us that it's never happened to before. So I've just had such clear communications with so many types of animals in the last month, clearer than ever before. So I've been contemplating it, and like you, I'm wondering why it's happening. Of course, we're tapping into that field of shared thoughts and emotions and energy, but my sense is that it's becoming more accessible. It's like either the veils are thinning or something's going on where we are able much more easily to merge with it. And as we learn, we keep talking about surrender on the call today. And so as we learn to surrender more and more and more, we're all more able to access that field. It's like going yin. When you go yin and just receive, that allows you to tap into that field very easily. So I think, the sense I have is that this is going to continue for those of us doing this work. And I remember what Leslie's guide said about it a long, long time ago. They said, one day, all the fences of the world are going to come down. And I don't have time to tell that whole story again. I think most of you probably heard it. But in essence, what they were saying is that we are pioneers. We are helping to plant seeds in consciousness and helping the world to prepare for the time when there won't be the boundaries, there won't be the fences, there won't be the separations between humans and the rest of the natural world anymore. And it may not happen in our lifetimes. It might, but it may, probably won't, because it's going to take some time. But we can just remember that we are the pioneers. We're planting the seeds so that this can happen more and more and more. So the more you live that, the more you connect with that field, the more you learn to go yin and receive and surrender, the more we're contributing, the more we're helping speed that process up. And it's a metaphor, these physical fences and physical boundaries coming down. It's a metaphor for the walls of the ego coming down, our separations coming down, so that we merge with the field of love, the field of energy that we're all one with anyway. So that's the new paradigm. That's what's birthing, and it does seem miraculous. But in honesty, this is not a miracle. We could call these ordinaries. A friend of mine says that. It's like, it seems miraculous, but we should really call it an ordinary, because that's who we are. We are that field of love. Just remembering it, that's all. Okay, so we've come to the end of our time, and I'd like to leave you with just a quick exercise. This is something we can all practice between now and next time. It's something kind of fun. When I was with my parents over the holidays, they had an experience while they were traveling. They were eating at a restaurant, and they went to pay their bill, and the waitress said, "Oh, somebody's already paid for your food." Somebody had paid it forward. And my parents were so excited. I don't think they'd ever had that happen to them. And they called, and they were just so happy about it, and they were so full of energy, and it was contagious. And all of us who received that wonderful energy, we were uplifted by it. Like, oh, yes, that's right. How much fun is that? What joy that you spread from doing that. And I'd forgotten about paying it forward. I practiced it a long time ago, but it's been a while. So I'm putting it out to you. If you want to do a simple practice that spreads love and joy and good vibes easily, quickly, no big deal, do a random act of paying it forward this month. And just know that it's like throwing a pebble in a pond, and those ripples are going to go out. It's not just going to affect the people who you paid for, whether it's their groceries or their food at a restaurant or their gas at the gas station, or I don't know, whatever. Get creative. It's going to affect everybody they tell about it. And so it's a wonderful way to practice spreading the love and the joy. So I'll leave you with that. And let's take 1 minute to just close our call. I invite you to pause and close your eyes. Take a few long, slow, deep breaths. And just relax. Breathe in the light that surrounds you. Breathe in this beautiful field of love that we're sitting in. The beautiful transmission of healing energy coming in. So just go yin, receive it. Breathe out any tension or stress that the body's holding on to. And as we all practice this right now, I'm just going to say a quick closing prayer. We call on all the guides, teachers, all the beings in the invisible realms who've been surrounding us in the highest love and support. And we thank you. We thank you for all that you've given us. Thank you for the love that we share. Thank you for the healing energy. And I thank each of you for showing up, for those of you who've showed up in real time, and for those of you who are listening in the future. Deeply, deeply grateful to you for being part of this field. It's a field that we can all tap into anytime. Even between our calls, the field is there. More strong, it's more powerful and stronger and easier to access when we're together in meditation like this, but it's there for you. It's there for each of us all the time. So we offer our gratitude for the love that we share, the bodies that we wear, and this precious time on planet Earth. We send a blessing to all life, humans, plants, animals, all the natural world, Gaia herself. We offer our love, and we rejoice in the opportunities we're given to grow and to live in love and peace and joy and to share it with others. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Alalaho. Isn't it wonderful? Thank you, everyone. I send you all my love, and I look forward to next month. Don't forget to send in your questions, sharing, whatever. I really look forward to hearing from you and look forward to being with you next month. All right. All my love. Bye for now.